Okay, so for this tutorial, I'm going to be going over the bass fat rack patcher thing that I made for this particular project right here. You might have seen the short, but in case you didn't, here is what it sounds like, specifically this sound right here. And I don't need to play it all. I'm just going to kind of go over the patcher here. So let's kind of solo out what we're doing. Just these two layers. It's a bass and a little color thing. And how do I approach making patchers like this? So just philosophy wise, what I want to do when I'm making a patcher, especially if it's a fat rack for a bass, is have some compression. And by some, I mean a lot, a ton of compression, compressor, interspersed with some different options for how the signal can play out. So as you can see in here, I don't want to get kind of bogged down in what this particular one does. I want to stick more on like the idea level. So we're sending it into a compressor. And there's two ways that I'm doing effects here. One would be by a knob that when you turn it, changes the sound, but it might be like an initial amount of grit or dirt like this one has here, to where when I change this control, it adds an asymmetry to a distortion that's always on. Hopefully that makes sense. So no matter what I put in this signal chain, it always starts here, goes into the distortion. Then, so you know, my two different options are, I have ones that are already affecting the sound that I can adjust, and then I have ones that are not affecting the sound at all. So this one would by default be off. That brings distortion in, and as you can see, that's just turning up the mix on an abrasive, which I need to mute this out so you can kind of hear what it's doing to the sound here. You can't really tell much. I'm gonna have to adjust some stuff so that you can hear what this is actually doing. Probably that. As you can hear, adds a little crustiness when you don't have the vocoder on. So just a little dustier. I could solo it out with all those, but it would just add so much time onto this particular tutorial. I'm not going to do that. It adds crunchiness. I don't want to get bogged down. So moving on. The second type of effect I have is an effect that does nothing, right? When I turn this off, so right now our signal flow goes into an OTT, through a destructor, and at the same time into a lux verb with the dry all the way down. So the second kind is like a wet layer that you can add on top of it. So this one attaches to the preverb. And all that's doing is turning up the wet level on this particular thing right here, right? That turns that on, so it brings in new signal to go through processing. So the second piece of this is like, I want to send it through something heavy that does a lot to the frequencies. So in this particular case, I'm sending it through a chroma, which means if I use this preset, as you can see in the name of the preset, set chroma key. So I know that like, hey man, this doesn't sound right as soon as I throw it on anything. It's because there's a chroma in there that I need to go and adjust, and set it to the key of my track, right? So I have two different chroma style effects in here, and we're going to get into the next thing that we have here, which is frequency splitting. So what happens after this chroma? Our signals are summed into the chroma, so anything before it goes into the chroma. After the chroma, the signal splits again. What is that split doing? It is either bypassing a vocodex and going into a fruity limiter, or it is going through a vocodex into a fruity limiter. Now, if I want it to be one or the other, the way that I can do that is I have a vocodex mix knob that is linked to two fruity send dry controls. This is the one that's post vocodex, right? It's the one that's after the vocodex here. And anytime I turn it up, the signal goes louder here. And by setting this to have the opposite response, right, as I turn that one on, the signal turns off, which you can set up. I've showed this in a bunch of tutorials, but I'll show it again real quick. I send this into a input output XYZ controller, flip the thing, and then as you can see here, if I turn this on, this one goes to the XYZ controller, this one goes directly to the knob, right? Hopefully that makes good sense for you. That allows me to, I got to turn my signal back on, which I have turned off here. It allows me to have a sound that I send into some processing, right? So I beef it up Let's kind of show this here, not just do my hand. I'm doing like karate gestures with no camera on, or trying to talk with my hands. It goes into an OTT and gets loud. Then it gets distorted and possibly gets some reverb. Then it goes into a chroma. After the chroma, it goes into either a vocodex or not a vocodex, right? I'm making my signal nice and fat and loud and distorted, then breaking it down with these two or just this one, then bringing it back up again with some more compression. So the idea here being compress it, change it, really change it, compress it again, change it, or then it goes compress it, change it a lot, change it a little bit, and then add some variation here. So we'll kind of keep moving through this chain. One thing I don't want to forget is I am sidechaining the vocodex to my bass sound. And the way that you do that is as long as you have linked a sound like this via this little thing with the volume off, you don't want it on. That sounds nice, but that's not what we want, particularly for this one. As long as you link that there, it'll give you a new audio output that you can add. That is your sidechain. Then you just send that as a new input into here. You can do as many inputs as you want, but we just need 2 for this one. That's how you get that to work like that, right? Lastly, you might notice that some of these knobs look similar, right? We have these 2 that are the same, these 2 that are the same, these 2, I might have already said these 2, these 2. It's because they work in the same plugin. That's just a way that I try and kind of manage the confusion of my plugins. So as you can see, this one changes the bandwidth here on my vocodex, and I can't really change it too much because I have it automated in the project. Moving on, we kind of just do some repeats here. So we have a spectral gate, right? Just bringing in some nice weird spectral noises. A width thing that it defaults to the middle because both the directions add to the wetness of the sound. I like to set my parameters, which you can do if you turn this on, right click it, you have to change the value. Then you can set that to the default value. I like to typically default mine to what sounds good or no effect, right? So the ones that add in a new effect, I've started at no effect. Some of the ones that I just want to sound like kind of good no matter what sound I put in them, I'll set those to like a value that seems to work, like the bandwidth being here, for example. All right, then we go into spectral gate, fruity flanger. Then we have 3 different versions of a thing here. So the first one is, let's just show this. This one, if we turn it off, for some reason, again, turns my whole signal off. The reason is because this is a fully wet effect that is controlled by a fruity send turning on. That one, I believe, is the shards. And they both kind of do the same thing, but you have to use a fruity send if there's no dry value, like there is in a, some plugins in FL have a dry and a wet. Some of them just condense it into a mix knob, right? So both of these are being basically used to bypass the transporter, and that's my quote unquote dry signal bus, right? So then if I want to use the transporter, I think if I turn that on, yeah, it's probably just bringing my loop. Yeah, it's doing the opposite to those. So it's turning the dry off and the loop levels on. Right? So the idea here, and we're just going to kind of start from this point in the chain because I already said, well, I'll say it again. Compress it, change it, really change it, compress it again, really change it, and then add some variations to it to where I have like these post effects. And the good example of this is I have preverb. That's a reverb that's before all my effects and a reverb that's after all my effects, being the crystals reverb. So, and then again, finishing it off with compression and some clipping to make sure that the signal doesn't go crazy loud if it's ever, too loud in the mix, or basically just to give it a nice transient. So, last thing for this, it's sometimes a good idea, but other times not, to have and I'll say 2 last things, to have a depth or a mix on your compression, a knob on your compressors that can just kind of do like master compression, where all of the compressors in here get their threshold turned down or their depth, or aka dry wet, turned up, just with one knob. So you can kind of like do some really easy on the fly gain manipulation and like dynamic control. That way, if you have a super crazy loud signal, you can either compress it more, or if you have a really one that's getting way over compressed, you can turn that down. And then lastly, the last thing that I was gonna say, ooh, give me 1 second here. I don't want to edit this video, so I can't really think too hard about this. Oh, what do you want to feed into this when you're building one of these? So when I'm building one of these, typically I will start, and I'm not going to show an example, but like if you're starting, let's say with, I'm not going to even look for it. We'll just say if you, a Virtual Riot makes some really good processed, highly developed bass sounds with a lot of detail. If you're starting with that, you're going to be very averse to like messing it up. I would start with a kind of shitty sound that you're trying to make really good. That way, anything shitty that you put into it, it should be a fat rack. It'll kind of sound goodize it. Instead of starting with a really good sound and building a rack out of that, because then you're kind of ending up with something where you might not want to change it, or like you might think like, oh man, my rack is doing a lot, when in reality you're just like polishing the already good sound. So the last thing for this is another good idea in general for these is having EQs at different stages of the plugin, and then you can just have like a knob in here that's like mid boost, right? And that's your like mid booster. Or you can add an LFO'd filter or something like that, that does like filter plucks, and you can set that up a lot of different ways. But speaking of which, you know, it's nice to have a knob in here to boost the mids or cut the lows, or do a high shelf that comes down. Different little like utility EQs I think are useful, particularly like before compression or after compression, or like before a distortion, stuff like that. If you ever want to have an automation or a modulation that automatically moves, you can set that up by getting a peak controller, linking an output, which is going to be your LFO, and sending that to things that you want to modulate. So that's the last thing. Thank you for watching. Hopefully this was clear and concise, and I'm going to sell a Patcher Fat Rack sample or preset pack on my Gumroad at some point. But if you're not, you know, if that's not out yet, which is, it's not going to be, go to the Gumroad and just buy some stuff. That helps support me. Thank you for watching, and y'all have a good one.